Good evening, everyone. How are you all?
Good evening. Good. How
Thank
you
you.
doing?
Hey, I'm doing well. Thank you all so much for joining us this evening. We're going to wait just a few more, just 1 or 2 more minutes to let all of our participants in. We have a few more participants joining the meeting now. As we're going to go ahead and get started because we have Ms. Willer with us from Voyager. Um, we're, if you would go ahead and if you haven't done so, please mute your device, but we will get started. And it's now 4:32. And so that we don't keep everyone waiting, we're going to start with our Voyager night with elementary parents. Let me start by saying thank you so much for joining us tonight. I recognize the importance of you being here and do not take for granted that you all could have had, you probably have so many other things going on with you in your life right now, but you decided that you'll join us for Voyager night with our elementary parents. So thank you so much for joining us. I want to start by introducing myself. My name is Ozella Ford. I'm the Executive Director of Teaching and Learning for Selma City Schools. I've been with Selma City for the last 4 years, and I have to say this has probably been one of the most rewarding places I've worked because I've met so many great people and just see the work that our district is doing to really promote and engage our parents and our community in the educational process, and just really know that this is the best place for me to be, as well as you and us to be together at this time. So thank you all so very much for joining us. Ms. Willer is our presenter tonight, and Ms. Willer is going to provide us some information about Voyager. And you're probably saying to yourself, well, what is Voyager? Selma City Schools is in the process of looking at our curriculum offerings and making certain that we're providing a holistic as well as equitable education to all of our students. And in order to do that, we had to reevaluate some of our processes to ensure that we're meeting the needs of every scholar. When we say all in Selma City, all means all. And so we're going to really work closely with our parents this year to ensure that we're supporting you in this virtual space, as well as when we return back to school, because the goal is that for all of our students to be on grade level by the time they leave the particular grade level that they're in. We have the Alabama Literacy Act that's coming down the pipe. It's here, as a matter of fact. And with that being the case, we have a lot of work to do to ensure that our students are prepared by the time they leave third grade to be promoted to fourth grade and can pass some of the assessments that the state has designed. And the only way we're going to be able to do that is to implement the additional supports for our students, our scholars, as well as be able to communicate what's needed, to communicate what's needed from our parents to also help us. We're going to work together as partners to get this done. You all, Selma City is committed to putting all students first and making certain that we're providing a holistic and equitable education. Voyager is a scientifically based intervention and acceleration program for scholars in grades K through 5. It provides explicit instruction as well as a comprehensive approach to learning. And how we're going to use it in Selma City is that we'll use it to pretty much help make certain that our scholars we're able to catch our scholars up from the COVID-19 slide, as well as the summer slide that could have happened, but also to meet them where they are and make certain that we're moving them forward in their learning. I'm not going to hold talk for very long tonight, but just know if you're joining us, please mute your device. This session is being recorded. If you have questions, please place your questions in the chat, and I will monitor the chat throughout the meeting and respond to you. And if there's a question that you have and I don't know the answer, I'm going to share my number and information with you at the end, and you'll be able to reach out to me. But as of now, all of our elementary schools in Selma City will implement Voyager for the upcoming school year, because we're committed and dedicated to making certain that all of our students succeed. At this time, I'd like to introduce to you Miss Wheeler. She's the VP, the Vice President of Field Implementation with Voyager, and she's going to present to us tonight. Again, if you have questions, please place your questions in the chat and I'll respond to you, and I'll provide you my information at the end. Miss Wheeler is awesome, guys. You're going to really enjoy her. Thank you so much, Miss Wheeler, for being here.
Thank you, Dr. Ford. I am so excited to have a chance to be here again with Selma City Schools, all the moms and dads. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for your time tonight. Again, I represent Voyager Sopris Learning. We do consider ourselves the premier solution when it comes to all things for students as it relates to reading and writing and mathematics and professional development for teachers. That's really what we do, and we do it all across this great country. But the area that I have is the Southeast region, which of course includes Alabama. And I can't tell you how excited I get because I am a resident of Alabama. I live right down the road from you guys. I'm here in Pike Road, bringing you greetings from Pike Road. I grew up in Montgomery, Alabama. That's where I spent all of my years growing up. My parents are from Camden, Alabama, right down the road from you guys there in Selma. I'm showing you pictures of my Nana, my sweet Nana, who lives right there in Selma. And we had a chance to take her a couple of years ago when Dr. George Evans was the mayor of Selma. He's a good buddy of mine. Had a chance to meet him. We celebrated her 90th birthday a couple of years ago, and Dr. Evans was there. So I have a lot of love, a lot of family in Selma. A lot of my personal close friends are in Selma, and I've always had this very close connection to this city. So it means so much to me to not only be part of this great company that I've had a chance to work with for the last 16 years, it means a lot to me to be able to do real significant work here in Alabama, to do real significant work right here with our partners there in Selma City. So I don't take your time with us tonight for granted. I thank all of you for the opportunity to partner with Selma City and for your interest in knowing what's going to happen with your scholars as the year progresses. So Dr. Ford talked about this COVID-19 slide. No, it's not the latest dance craze, right? This is what happened as a result of the pandemic. Now, we typically experience this every summer because when students are out of school, when the school year typically would end, there's normally a couple of months between the end of the spring year and the beginning of the fall year. And there's always been the summer slide, where when students aren't actively engaged in instruction, they have a tend to maybe fall back in some of those skills and need more support in the fall. Well, here's the new buzzword due to the pandemic. It's the COVID-19 slide. And as you know, your scholars have been out of school since March. So what we would typically expect to see with summer losses is now even more so because they've been out of school even twice as long due to the pandemic. But I just want to say this, when it comes to Selma City and what they are intending to do, what they are setting out to do, I want to make sure that you notice your logo for the school district. Y'all read that with me. Selma City Schools, students first. Students first. So I love that this partnership that we are now embarking upon with Selma City, first of all, it's all about family. That's why we're doing a parents' night. And I wanted to make sure that we could make the connection with what you're probably having a little bit of anxiety about with your students, with the school year abruptly ending in March. Then you've been out of school all these many, many months, twice as long as you typically would be for the summer months. And you're thinking about how will this fall implementation virtual for 9 weeks work? How will my scholar, my child, my baby that needed more support, how is he going to get that through a computer screen? How can I make sure that my student is ready for the next grade, ready to leave elementary and go on to middle school? How do I know that this is going to make my child successful so that we can experience the type of life trajectory that we all want for our children, right? So what are the 3 things that, when you think about school and all the little adages that we hear about what we learn in school, what are the 3 things that we're supposed to get when we go to school? Chat that into the box for me. What are those 3 things, this, and this, that we're always supposed to get when we go to school to learn? Did you get it? Reading, writing, and what's the last one? Arithmetic, right? Those 3 R's, as they call them, reading, writing, and arithmetic. Yeah. So we want to have that for our students across the board. And what do you know? That is exactly what Selma City is providing for their scholars there across the district. So the first, with reading, you're going to hear me talk about Voyager Passport. This is what we're going to provide for the students there in Selma City for grades K through 5 as it relates to all things reading. In those early grades, it's so important that students have the proper foundation upon which everything for them builds. Because as you know, moms and dads and grandmoms, reading is a life skill. It's an essential skill. And when our babies learn to read, they become empowered to do so many other things. So being a strong reader is so critical to their overall success. And so with our Passport solution, we also have a little online component called Reading Rangers, because we recognize this is the digital age. And our kids love video games and love being on things on digital devices and things like that. So to meet their needs, again, meeting them where they are and getting their interest, there's a component that's part of Voyager Passport that's called Reading Rangers. And so your scholars will have that to their access as well. But along with being a good reader, we want kids to be good writers. So I love the fact that Selma City Schools has incorporated something called Step Up to Writing. How about that? Step Up to Writing. And they're going to use this all across the grades from kindergarten through 12th grade, but we'll talk specifically about what it looks like for your grades here for K through 5 for elementary, and the importance of the consistency that students will now have when they now have an in-depth comprehensive writing solution that's really going to make them better writers as they also continue to strengthen their reading skills. All right, what was the last one? We said reading, writing, you got it, arithmetic. Okay, so here's the math solution. So this is something called VMath, and we're going to be using this in Selma City for your grades K through 5. But I will say this, with the VMath solution, it really does start in 2nd grade, and we have something that we typically use during the summer months for our kindergarten and 1st grade students called VMath Summer. Well, we're going to use that for the K-1 students in Selma. So don't let the VMath Summer Adventure title throw you off, okay? What they're getting in that curriculum with those early basic math skills upon which they're going to continue to build, it's all about pre-algebra skills that hopefully will set them on the right path to be successful when they enter algebra and other more sophisticated, more rigorous math instruction. And much like with the reading side, we have an online component for the students. We also have one with VMath and VMath Summer called VMath Live, where students, again, we know they love a good video game. We know they love having a digital device in their hands. We know they love learning and challenging themselves and having fun. Well, VMath does all of that. So my plan is to take you through each of these solutions, show you what they're all about, give you a chance to exhale so that you can understand exactly what's going to be provided to your scholar in the fall in a virtual setting, at least for the first 9 weeks, and how if you trust us in this partnership, if you trust the fact that we have research-based curriculum that's going to meet your students' needs, no matter where they fall, if you trust that relationship and you get on board with us and do the things that we need you to do from home, moms and dads and grandmoms and aunties, right? We need that support. That's why this Parents' Night is so important. So hang tight with me. If you have a piece of paper and you've got a writing utensil, take some good notes. Otherwise, you have the chat feature. If you have some questions, feel free to chat those questions to us, and we'll try to address those sometime at the end and see what kind of questions you have. All right? Well, let's talk about this reading, writing, and arithmetic, if you will. All right. So again, you're going to have Voyager Passport for grades kindergarten through 5th grade. Now, here's how Voyager Passport works. We are trying to prepare students to be lifelong readers and lifelong learners. So you'll notice all the different pieces here about what makes Passport so effective. Here's a couple of things to keep in mind. When we think about, again, I talked about the summer slide that typically kids experience when they're out for the summer, and now we have the COVID-19 slide. Here are a couple of stats. First things first, typically students must be reading by the time they leave 1st grade, like reading, strong reading skills for a 1st grade reader by the time they end 1st grade. Students that aren't reading by the time they leave 1st grade will have a difficult time acquiring those skills unless something is done to intervene for those children, right? So the premise is, let's start out right from the beginning. Let's give them the proper skills that they need, the proper research-based elements that they need to be a good reader. And if they still need more support beyond that, let's provide that too. There's also some research that talks about in grades 1 through 3. Okay, I guess you can put kindergarten in there too. Grades K through 3. Those are the grades where students are learning to read. Do you agree? In kindergarten through 3rd grade, our children are learning all those essential skills, all the basic essential components of what they need to become a good reader, and they're learning to read in grades K through 3. But at the end of 3rd grade, beginning of 4th grade, there's what's called a paradigm shift. And it goes from learning to read to reading to learn. So in your 4th and 5th grade, we want to prepare students for the opportunity to be able to pick up a text, read that text, gain knowledge and meaning and understanding. So the way that we do that is so critical in these early grades. But here's the problem. The research tells us in those early grades, K through 3, when they're learning to read, if there's a year that those students have insufficient instruction, their needs are not met, something happens, it might take those children a year or 2 to recover from that, to bounce back from that 1 year where things kind of went awry. Let's just say that. Then it gets a little worse. In grades K through 3, when they're learning to read, if there's 2 years where a child has insufficient instruction, their needs are not met, in the professional world, we give it a nickname called dyspedagogia, right? When they don't have exactly the correct instructional tools and materials that they need to hone those reading skills, then those students, if that happens twice between K through 3, whether it's they had an off kindergarten year and then an off 2nd grade year, or an off 1st grade year and then an off 2nd grade, doesn't have consecutive or not, those children can take 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, more or never to recover from that 1 year. Well, let's just be honest. With this pandemic being what it is, and the 2019-20 school year coming to an abrupt end in March, we just had a blip, did we not? Yeah. You know, if you wanted to consider it dyspedagogia in a way, they had a disruption to their school year. They had something that came into the way of them going on that upward trajectory. This pandemic has caused a problem for all of our children. So yes, I know you have some anxiety. I know you're anxious about how do we recover from this. Maybe your child was behind a little bit when March hit, and then out of the blue, they're out of school and they lost the end of that school year to continue honing those skills. Maybe your child was really on grade level and things were really going well, but I just talked about the COVID-19 slide, and now you're afraid your baby that was on grade level in March, due to the fact they've not been in school, may not be now that it's August. Yeah, I hear your anxiety. Well, that's the reason why this partnership with Selma City Schools and Voyager Sopris Learning is so important, because the things that you see here on this list, that's just what Passport can do. It's a proven solution that has the research-based elements to prepare those kids for that task of learning to read. It's comprehensive in nature. That way the teacher has all the elements that she needs to provide the support and structure for the students because they've been out of school for so long. And it's effective. We have research that shows when the teachers can implement this solution and follow the instruction that's provided within the course of the product, that we can see students gain results in their reading skills. They can maintain the skills that they've lost, and it happens across the board for students, whether they are a grade level student, if they are English language learner student, if they are a special needs student. The way that the growth trajectory happens, it happens for all those categories of students. How wonderful is that? And then it's targeted because we're going to meet kids exactly where they are. So yes, you're talking about, okay, let's say you've got your second grade students, they're all come back to school. Well, the second grade children are not all functioning at the exact same pace and rate, right? I mean, think about it. I think that Passport is a lot like going to the dentist. No, I don't mean, you know, the scary part about going to the dentist, but you know how you go to the dentist, for the most part, we all go to get our teeth cleaned. For the most part, maybe we go twice a year, right? And that's typically what we do. We come in and the dentist is going to clean our teeth. But every now and then, they have to scrape a little more here and there. Every now and then, we have to have a procedure because, oh, there's a filling. Oh, we chipped a tooth. We got to repair that tooth. And so they have to make the adjustments based on what the patient needs, based on what the concerns are in their mouth. Well, Passport's a lot like that. We're going to meet the needs of the students based on who needs what. And we have the tools and the instruments, just like the dentist office has that nice little comfy chair. They have all the little picks and all the little machines and all the different things that they use inside your mouth to make sure they can clean your teeth appropriately and repair your teeth appropriately. Well, Passport does that too. So everything you need to meet your students' needs is what you'll see in Passport. So if we have to target specifically for this child who, before the pandemic, was a little bit behind grade level, we're going to meet that child's needs and accelerate them as they're working through their work in Passport. And it's going to be flexible. So you've got this time frame now that you have when you're online virtually with your scholars, with your teachers. They'll have a portion of the day in the afternoon where they'll have their instruction from Passport. And luckily it's flexible enough that, again, if I need to spend more time with certain students because they need that level of support, provide instruction for all the students, I can certainly do that and meet all the needs of what they need to get from their core instruction. So again, you've got all these different ways that Passport is going to be helpful to you in the fall, at least for the first 9 weeks virtually, and then hopefully you'll go back to the schools after that first 9 weeks, but it's going to meet their needs. And informative. There are pulse checks all along the way. So that the teachers are aware of the fact that these kids have been out of school and I need to support them and make them more accountable to the overall success. There's going to be data points that you'll see, and the teachers can certainly share that with you so that you'll be aware of how your child is making growth and progress as they're working virtually online with their teacher. So this is what Passport looks like. Pretty colorful, right? Yeah, we're talking about elementary kids, and this color is designed to really get their attention. And it's designed to also, for the 30 minutes per day is what they'll have and they have their teacher, it's designed to meet them where they are and take them where they need to be. So as you see these levels here on the screen, levels A through F, they correlate to the grades kindergarten through 5th. So level A is kindergarten, B is 1st grade, C is 2nd grade, D is 3rd grade, E is 4th grade, F is 5th grade. And the content of Passport for every one of those levels is designed to dip back a little bit if it needs to. Perfect. So we've been out for the COVID-19 slide. We already expect that some of the kids dip back anyway. COVID-19, they're going to dip back some more. Every level of Passport is going to start back a little bit where the kids are and take them where they need to be. And there's some placement pieces of Passport. So again, 2nd grade level C, they will all not be functioning at the exact same point. Because again, that dentist is going to make sure that I'm cleaning for this patient and I'm filling a cavity for this patient and I'm repairing a broken tooth for this patient. And Passport does that. So the teachers will have some flexibility again in making sure I can differentiate for students based on who needs what. So mom and dads, don't worry. If you recognize that your child was needing some more support and maybe over the COVID-19 slide, you really weren't sure how to do it, you don't have a background in teaching, that's not your thing, but you know your child needs this level of support and effort, and you want the best for your child. Well, yeah, we want the best for your child too. So luckily, this partnership with Passport will do that because it's going to target the needs that your child has based on what his or her needs are. and also what their peers will need, right? And move them and accelerate them toward a trajectory of overall progress and success. Because again, we recognize that reading is a life skill, and our children have to have that, particularly in grades K through 3. So I thought you might be a little curious to see, what does it look like? What are they going to be doing while they're online? Okay. So you know the teachers are going to have a platform. So just like right now we're on Zoom and you can see me. And then if you're sharing your camera, hello, I can see you, right? So it's going to look and feel a lot like this with your scholar. Their teacher will be on the other end of the screen sharing their video so the kids can see them and communicate with their teacher and still make eye contact and those kinds of things. Your scholar will be at home or wherever they're going to be having their virtual school. They'll have their device and they'll be able to see their teacher and all of their peers, okay? And the teacher will be delivering the instruction. He or she will be sharing things on their screen that pertain to the instruction. Your scholars may also have some materials that they're working from as they're getting the instruction. And all of this is designed to meet their needs. So what I want to show you from this page is everything. This is the teacher's instruction. And I want you to know that if you've had any concerns about how your child is going to come back and recover, Passport is designed to make the teacher successful in making your scholar successful. So all these bells and whistles that you see on the page for the teacher, I'm giving you a peek behind the curtain. Can you tell what I'm doing? I'm letting you see what the teachers are going to be doing, what they're going to be seeing when they teach your child. So yes, all those colors mean something when you look at this page, and all of the tools for the teacher are right there. So yes, we're going to give the teacher some dialogue of what he or she needs to say to this child to make sure they understand these concepts and skills. Remember, in grades K through 3, they're learning to read, and how we teach that to the students and prepare them for the lifelong skill of reading is very strategic. It's very purposeful. So you'll see with the teacher's instructions, oh yeah, we leave nothing to chance. We're going to tell that teacher exactly what to say to make those scholars successful. I love this box on the teacher talk because we also let the teacher know this is why you're doing what you're doing. Don't skip around. Don't jump and miss some points, because if you do that, you're gonna miss the reason why this was so important for these students to get. So you'll see that for the teacher, we don't leave anything to chance. Everything to think about as far as why you're teaching this content, why you're saying it this way, is right there in the guide for the teacher. This is an example of what your students will be working from and then what they're seeing. So if you happen to be sitting in the room, or if you happen to be passing by when they're on the computer screen, you should see a variety of different things that your child has engaged with the teacher and their peers online. And this is one example of that, of how they're going to be working on, in this case, reviewing consonants. So if you've got students that you knew when the pandemic hit, oh my goodness, my baby's going to need some help, and I don't have the tools to help them. This is what Passport is designed to do. It's going to back up a little bit to what we know they missed and carry them through, so that by the time, like Dr. Ford said, by the time they end this grade level, this school year, we won't even be able to tell that they lost some time with COVID. We want the recovery to happen right now and happen quickly. And that's another reason why Passport works and is so successful for students as it relates to acquiring the reading skills. And so we're not done with that, teacher. We also make sure they understand what to listen for and what to watch for and what to remember. And yes, they're online and they're listening to the students as they're responding. But again, we want to differentiate for students and provide that other layer of support for kids that may need it. Again, think about the dentist that makes those decisions for what that patient needs. We provide the tools for that teacher within Passport to also make those decisions for the students. So I think you'll rest easy knowing that that's going to happen. And so that first part that's called WordWorks deals with words in isolation, as they're learning how to pronounce those words and knowing how to produce the sounds for those words. But in order for our children to become better readers, they have to spend time actually reading connected text. We want them reading text, reading books, reading passages, reading stories. That's how they're going to hone that craft and continue to build those skills toward mastery. So the second half of what they do during Passport is titled Read to Understand. And we'll do some various things. And as you see, look at that teacher's guide. There is so much for that teacher to be doing, right? So that's why it's so important that when your scholar is at home and they've got their laptop or whatever their device is, and maybe they have their headset in so they can hear the teacher clearly, they should be sitting up in their seat and engaged, because there is so much that we have to cover in Passport, again, to make up for the COVID-19 slide and to also prepare our students to be able to get these skills in K through 3, to continue honing those skills in 4 through 5, and prepare them for that lifelong trajectory of reading. Let's just be honest. You know, again, I grew up in Montgomery, all right? And I'm very familiar with Selma. And you know I'm telling the truth when I say this. For some of our students, reading may just be their only ticket out. Do you understand what I mean when I say that? For some of our children, reading may be their only ticket out. There was an elementary school in Montgomery when I was growing up. Y'all probably know who, I'm not gonna say the school's name. If you've been through Montgomery and you know the city, you probably know what school I'm talking about. This school was located in downtown Montgomery, on the outskirts of downtown Montgomery. There was the police station, the police department was right across the street, and the cemetery was right behind the building. So those kids saw the police department coming to school and the graveyard when they left every single day. So for some of our children, you know, that's an interesting perspective to have. And for many of our children, depending on their background and their experiences, we need to show them and give them all the tools that they need so that despite their circumstances, becoming a good reader, getting the lifelong skill of reading can change your life trajectory. So, and for some of our kids, reading may just be their only ticket out. So how we do that needs to be careful and deliberate and decisive. And Passport can certainly do that. Now, this is Read to Understand again, and we'll do things that you would typically expect to do when you're reading with your child at home. You want to do some before reading strategies. What do we need to think about before we attack this text, right? Then we'll do some during reading strategies. What do we need to support and be prepared for with our children? If you look at that screen, can you see that? It talks to the kids about what good readers do, because everything that you see in blue is what their teacher will be saying. Direct and explicit. So we're going to constantly remind them of what good readers do, what good readers think, how good readers attack that text. And then, of course, what do you think comes next? You got it, after reading. So we make sure that before reading, during reading, after reading, that we're fully engaging these students on these strategies that they will use when they go to their science class, or when they have social studies, or even when they're doing math, or even outside of school, because we have to read all day long, everything we do, right? So we're going to prepare them to be able to do that successfully. And I hope that you see within Passport, we're making the teacher successful and making the students successful. And if you have a kindergarten child and you're thinking, well, my baby's in kindergarten, we're not reading yet. Yeah. Not yet. And I love how you said that. I love you said we're not reading yet, because that is the point. So if you're in level A, the green series with kindergarten, instead of read to understand, they will have listen to understand. And the teacher will have the onus of doing the majority of that reading content for students. And as they're getting that skill of learning to read, then by the end of the year, your kindergarten babies will be reading. Your kindergarten scholars will be reading. That's what Passport's going to do. It's going to accelerate them. It's also going to prevent any other future reading difficulty. So that's why having this talk with you as a parent, to get you on board so that you know when your child gets online, gets in front of that computer, we're about to make some things happen. And Passport's going to be a good tool to be able to do that, which is really neat, because I mean, it's called Passport. And like, if we were traveling around the world, we need our passport to get from place to place. Yeah, we want our kids to be able to go anywhere, to be able to do anything. And learning to read is the ticket that's going to get them there. All right. So, and I don't even mean learning to read. I mean, just period. This is what it's going to take to get them there. All right. So now watch this. Remember how I said we've got this little component that the kids will have access to, that they can continue to increase their reading skills. So they have instruction with their teacher and their peers through Passport. And then there's something that they're going to have access to called Reading Rangers. It's completely web-based. So it doesn't matter what device they might have. If it's a laptop or a desktop or an iPad or a Chromebook, or even maybe even a fancy iPhone or Android phone, they will have a username and password that they will log into, and Reading Rangers will also help them to solidify the skills that they're getting with their teacher during Passport. So I thought you might want to see what Reading Rangers is all about and meet my friend Dewey. Take it away, Dewey.
Oh, hey there, adventurer. Welcome to Reading Rangers. My name is Dewey, and I'm the archivist around here. That means I protect all of the ancient scrolls we find around the world. Scrolls are like old books written on rolled up paper, and we need your help to track them all down. Think you can do that? Great! I'll need you to travel to some pretty cool places to find and collect the scrolls. In order to do that, you'll need to read each scroll and solve its puzzles to unlock it. As you go, you'll earn tokens for all of your correct answers, so you can show them off to your friends. Complete fun challenges to earn even more too. Are you ready? Let's go!
All right. So if you were thinking, gosh, I don't have enough books at home for my child. I'm not really sure what to buy. What books is this appropriate for my student? They'll have books and stories within Passport through Reading Rangers. So there'll be plenty of text for them to have access to. Isn't that great? All right, but I talked about being a good reader, and then we want them to also be a good writer. So watch this. Step Up to Writing will be used across Selma City Schools for grades kindergarten through 12. So let me focus a little bit to show you what's going to happen with your scholars as it relates to K through 5. Now, remember I talked about, if Passport's like the dentist, and the dentist is going to meet the, patient based on what the patient needs. Let's say Step Up to Writing is like a good hairstylist. That good hairstylist that can do your hair if you're natural, or if you're permed, you want a roller set, you want a buzz cut, you want a good deep condition and a trim. That good hairstylist that can do anybody's hair. You walk in the door, what do you need done today? And they put you in that chair, put that cape on you, and get to work. Yeah, that is like Step Up to Writing. Because it doesn't matter if your child is an accelerated student, if they're needing more support, if they are an English language learner, or if they are a special ed student. It does not matter. With Step Up to Writing, we have tools and information for these students that's going to move everybody forward. Because again, we want our children to be good readers. We also want them to be excellent writers. So they'll have a chance to have Step Up to Writing all across the district. So I thought you might be curious to see, well, what does that look like? What does a writing program do? Well, the basic premise of Step Up to Writing is to allow the students to understand the writing process and how it works when they work their way through actually creating a document, or creating a writing sample, or creating an example, or writing for a certain purpose. Okay, so that what you're seeing across the screen is the writing process. But what I want you to notice this, because it's being used kindergarten through 9th grade, here are all the ways that it transforms and changes and morphs to be more appropriate for the grade level of your student. So if you look at these grade bands across the bottom, K2 and 3-5 serves the needs of your scholars there at home. And if you notice, each one looks a little different, doesn't it? And as you matriculate through to 12th grade, it gets more and more sophisticated. Well, that's by design, that's on purpose. And if you'll notice in K through 2, there's some cute little characters there. Well, yeah, we want those early grades, those kindergarten through 2nd grade babies to really understand the writing process. And we give cute little fun characters that they learn by name, and they learn what those characters do. And this is going to help them as they're learning how to write, but also preparing them for the type of writing that we really expect them to be able to do. So if you were thinking, well, gosh, my baby wasn't doing a lot of writing before the pandemic, they're going to do all this. You bet. They're going to do all this and then some. Because again, we're going to use this solution from kindergarten all the way through 12th grade. The 9th through 12th grade is going to kick it off for us across the district, but everyone's going to have Step Up to Writing across Selma City Schools. And your children will increase their writing skills, their writing proficiency. The way we do it, again, 6+1 traits. I'm showing you things that your teachers will have the benefit of instructing with your students, giving you a peek behind the curtain, if you will, so that you can see the rigor and the deliberate nature of what we're trying to make sure that our students can do, that your scholars can do, because now they have a writing project. So think about it. Are your kids already on the phones and they're texting with their friends, and maybe they have a social media page of some sort? I mean, K through 5, I don't know. I know some friends that have 10-year-olds that have Facebook pages and stuff, right? Instagram pages. And you ever look at your kids texting and they're writing, or when they text you, you're like, what is he saying? And if you don't know all the TTYLs and LOLs, you're kind of confused, aren't you? Well, I have a good friend of mine here in Montgomery whose son didn't like to write. He loved school, but didn't like to write. And she was like, son, I don't understand. You love school. What is it with writing? He said, well, Mom, I can't see the little red lines. There are no red lines when I write. She's like, what are you talking about? What do you mean red lines? Well, what he meant was when you're texting or when you're on the computer, the little red squiggly line will show up when you misspell a word. You don't get that when you're writing, right? So that's why he was intimidated by writing. Well, Step Up to Writing will prepare kids for their ability to be able to write and express themselves through the written language. So you'll have that. And I think you'll appreciate this. The +1, you know, along with the 6 things that we're going to be teaching, the +1 is presentation. Don't you want your scholar to be able to stand up in front of anybody and speak and not have a fear of speaking in public and be able to present and talk to parents on a webinar, right? Don't you want your child to be able to do that? Well, there are skills that they will acquire through Step Up to Writing that's going to allow them a chance to do that. And so one of the things that they'll have to do within the curriculum is that they will present their writing to their peers. Who knows? We may have another Langston Hughes in the mix, right? We may have the next Zora Neale Hurston coming out of Selma City, right? We may have the next author there or the next Nobel Peace winner that comes out of Selma City, right? Because when they can learn to write along with those reading skills, again, we change their life trajectory. Now, let me show you this. With your students, there's something that they'll have a chance to have with Step Up to Writing called handy pages. And especially when they're back in the building, but they'll have these little tools that they'll use to maintain and keep with them no matter what classroom they're in. Because the skills they learn in Step Up, again, will help them for that science research paper. Will help them for that social studies book report that they have to do. That will help them for that English language arts thesis that they're going to have to write. Right? So this is going to support them all across the board. And again, we have specific tools that are deliberately designed for that K2 grade band of student and that 3-5 grade band of student. So I'm so excited that you're going to have an opportunity to not only make your scholars better readers and stronger readers, but they're also going to become good writers also in the process. But I have one more. Remember, I talked about reading, writing, and then I said arithmetic. There you go. Here's the last piece. So now you're going to have some math solutions for your students. Again, grades K through 5. You'll have VMath that covers grades 2 through 5 in your case. You'll have VMath Summer that goes back and hits those kindergarten and first grade students. And then they both will have access to something called VMath Live that looks a lot like our Reading Rangers component. Okay. So now let me show you this. When I think about math, I think about a mechanic. You're right. You know how the mechanic will put the car on the little machine and they'll figure out what's happening with the car when you hear that noise or the car's not running like it should, and they put it on that machine to figure out what to do next. Well, VMath has some elements like that. VMath allows the teacher to see up front, where are the issues that this child is going to have so that I can be ready to pounce on that child's needs and supports and get them where they need to be. Okay. So they're great mechanics when they're doing VMath. So as you see here, there's level A and level B. It says VMath Summer. Don't let that throw you off. That's where we start for the kindergarten and first grade children. So they'll have this curriculum that they'll use for their math instruction. And then if you're in grades 2 through 5, now this shows everything. It does go up to 8th grade, all right? But you're going to have levels C, D, E, and F if you have a 2nd through 5th grade child. But again, everyone's going through the VMath solution to give them those math essential skills that they've been missing that's going to allow them a chance to become successful with those math skills. Now, let me show you this. The way we designed the lesson is very explicit because, again, these students have been out of school since March. We have to meet their needs. We have to meet them where they are and take them where they need to be, the upward trajectory. So what you'll see in the lessons, no matter if you're VMath Summer or if you're doing the traditional VMath instruction, we're going to do something called Get Started. Let me teach you what this concept and skill is that you need to become a stronger math student. Let me also give you an opportunity to try it with us all together. Okay, so the teacher will provide the model, all eyes on me, watch me as I teach this concept, as I show you how to solve for this problem, and then we'll do try it together where she's asking the students to respond. So if you're at home and you hear your child reading or talking or doing math out loud and you're like, what is going on? Yeah, the teacher is asking the students to respond in the lesson, and so your child at home with their laptop and headset or whatever they're using, we want to hear their mics will be open. We want to hear them responding to the teacher. That way the teacher will know what areas to support where the tune-up needs to happen on that vehicle to get that math child back to where they need to be. And then there's going to be parts where they work on their own. So if you see an opportunity where your child is, the teacher may not be talking, and all of a sudden it gets really quiet, and you just see your child head down and the pencil going on the piece of paper, they're probably doing the work on your own section for VMath. Because what you're seeing here is something that we call I do, we do, you do in the educational arena. The I do is the teacher. She's going to provide the instruction. He's going to give this support for the students. He's going to teach them what that's supposed to look like. The we do is the try it together, where you'll probably hear your child at home, 7. You take away the 2 and you'll hear them responding at home, right? And then when you all of a sudden hear it getting quiet, that's the you do. That's where your child gets to practice what they've understood from the lesson and experience how to solve those problems and solve those, do those activities on their own. And so at that point, I mean, when the child is writing and getting busy, that's what that's talking about. The teacher's going to be looking, and you may hear every now and then, don't forget on problem number 17, be very careful to watch the sign. Make sure you notice it's a plus sign, not a minus sign. You may hear things like that, but you'll see that you see your child working from home. And then we always want to do a pulse check. What good is it to do all this teaching and all this instruction, and we don't know how well it's going? We don't know how well it's doing. We don't know what to support for the students. So you'll see that as well. There's going to be a checkup at the end of every one of those lessons that they have with their teacher, where the child can, what we do, it's called show what you know. They're going to have a chance to show what they know from the concept and skills that they've had with their teacher during the instruction. So again, I'm letting you peek behind the curtain and see what the teacher has to say and do. All that blue on the page is everything the teacher is saying. So yes, make sure that your child is ready at their devices, that they have a good headset or the audio is working on their devices, because all that blue dialogue that you see there is the teacher explaining, giving examples, coaching through the instruction, right? And your child needs to be able to hear and be attentive and ready to learn and get these math skills. I also think you'll appreciate that for every lesson, they learn some specific vocabulary. So you might want to ask your scholar, hey, tell me one new vocabulary word that you learned today. And they should be able to tell you, because this is the academic vocabulary of what they'll learn when they're in the VMath instruction. And they have a chance to have something called a animated glossary. So in the animated glossary, the teacher can use this during instructional time, and your students can use this with their login access. So if they want to understand more deeply about what these words are and what they mean, as you can see from the graphic there, they get a little virtual representation of those vocabulary words. And this academic vocabulary, this animated glossary, it includes every single vocabulary math term in the entire program. How about that? So you always have this at your disposal. So yes, your students will be learning their math skills and increasing their academic vocabulary with that math content. And we're talking about them being online, and they have an opportunity with their teacher to see the screen and share and do all these various things. Well, here's an example when they're doing that get started section with their teacher, and they are responding and typing in their responses on their page. You will see your students actively activating their pages. And if you don't have manipulatives at home, no worries. Now technically, you can use anything. Your children can go outside and get the rocks off the pavement or off the landscaping and clean them up real good. They can use these to do their countings. They can take a piece of paper or something and crumble it up, and that stands for 1, and get another one and crumble it up, right? But when they're online with their teacher, take a look. They're the counters and the fraction strips and the manipulatives, whatever they need for that lesson, they're right there for your child. So if you're thinking, well, gosh, we don't have any of these things at home, no worries. When they're doing it virtually with their teacher, those pieces are embedded. And if you have to, seriously, moms and dads, if it means take the water bottles and you keep the caps, this now becomes a manipulative. You get enough of them, you get 10, your child can use these to count and manipulate, right? So there's a way we can do this. We can do this together, and you can certainly help out and support that right there at home. All right, so they're building this with the instruction. The teacher's page, again, is chock full of instructions and supports as they work through the I do, we do, you do. When they do that checkup with the teacher about what they've learned and they're showing what they know, they again have tools that they will use online to help them with that instruction. So don't you worry about your child not having this instruction over the last few months. Don't you worry about them not being behind in their math skills and how are we going to catch my child up? How are they going to get what they need? These pieces are built right into this VMath system. And again, when they do their checkup, they've got their device, whether it's a desktop, a laptop, an iPad, or whatever the device may be, they're going to actually use this screen to complete their checkup activity. Take a look at that. So it meets the digital age. It meets the needs for the virtual instruction that they have to have right now. Yeah, so don't you worry. This partnership with Selma City and Voyager Socrates Learning is designed for this very thing that you're having to experience right now. How do we get our students up to par after they've been spending all this time away from instruction? And now I want to make sure that my child can be successful when they leave elementary school and they go to middle school, or that they can be successful when they leave first grade going into second grade. We've got you covered. All right, so does this help you kind of allay some of those fears that you might have been having about how is this going to work? All these tools for the teacher, again, are there to make the teacher successful in making your child, your scholar, your baby successful. And much like the mechanic does, if I need to put a little more air in the tire or you get ready to change out the tools for the engine, for that teacher, we have tools to differentiate. So if I have a child that has an ELL background that needs more support, if I have a child that has special needs, the teacher will know exactly what to do to support your scholar. So it doesn't matter what type of needs your child has. VMath has the tools for the teacher to tweak here and fix up here and shore up here and provide more support there. And then this green box, if your child needs extra practice, there are materials to help your child continue to increase their math skills. If your child needs to go through that lesson one more time with the teacher, I'm still noticing in the video that he or she's not responding. I need to spend more time with Cassandra and Laura. So I'll pull those kids together. And the teacher will do that by having these tools in VMath. And then there it is, there's VMath Live. And so for kindergarten through 5th grade in this case, they will have access to this resource that allows them to increase their math skills in a fun way, like a video game. And just in case you've got some secondary scholars in your household as well, I'll give away a little thunder when I talk to the secondary parents on Thursday. Those students that have trans math also have access to this VMath Live solution. So if you have a 2nd grader at home and you have a 6th grader in Selma City, they might be on this same online platform, but don't you worry. The 2nd grade content meets the needs of your 2nd grade scholar. The 7th grade content meets the needs of your 7th grade scholar. And it looks like this.
Math Live is an online learning environment for students in grades 2 through 8 that engages students as they learn and practice math. By working 20 minutes a day, 5 days a week during the school year, students can complete a year's worth of math instruction. VMath Live is the technology component of Cambian Voyager's VMath and TransMath, and is completely aligned with VMath modules and TransMath units. As a standalone supplement, VMath Live aligns with several state standards and aligns with many core print programs.
Looks exciting, doesn't it? Your child is going to love VMath Live. They can learn, they can play, they can practice, they can do video games with their other peers and other kids working on their math skills. I mean, it's good fun stuff, right? So I thought we might need to just kind of picking out a few things. I mean, I know you're going to get resources from different places, from the district, from the other people that are supporting your curriculum across Selma City. You're probably asking your neighbors and your family members, how do I do this? How do I help my child at home? So I thought I'd just give you a couple of little nuggets to consider as you're thinking about the ways to support your scholar, your child, your baby during the virtual instruction from home. So here are just a couple of things. I would recommend that you would designate a space or a place or a station for your child to work at home and when they're going through their school activities. And it needs to have all of their school supplies, whether it's their laptop or their desktop or their iPad, whatever they're working from. Make sure you've got the charging device or the cords to keep those devices well charged during the day. Let it be a comfortable place, a comfortable space. Let it be a comfortable chair or a comfortable place where they sit. Because you know what they say, that the mind can only retain, but the bottom can sustain. I'm telling the truth. When you're in that really hard chair, it's hard to get comfortable and you got to sit there and focus. It's hard to do that. So make sure your scholar's got a nice little comfortable place that has some sort of workstation or work table that they can put their laptop or put their notebook so that they can write and be at a place where they have a good posture and good positioning to be able to write so that their writing is legible, right? So have a nice designated place. Maybe you might have a bin or a box that they keep all of their school supplies, and it could be anything. It could be a shoebox that they keep their pens and pencils and crayons. It could be any kind of box that you might get from the grocery store, or if you've gotten anything from Amazon lately. Take that Amazon box, push the sides in, and let that be your child's area. Maybe go into the dollar store and get a couple of those little bins to keep their school supplies in a safe place. Maybe that the dog doesn't get to, or baby brother doesn't damage, right? But give your child a workspace. If you're working from home, you have an office space, give your child an office space, if you will, for what all they're going to need when they have their virtual school daily. I'll also say this: encourage your scholars' active and full participation in the online activities. Get them up, make sure they're up every day, on time, ready to learn, right? I don't know what the policy has been in Selma City, but many of the schools in Montgomery County, the students are still expected to wear their uniforms. So let them get up, let them get dressed. We all feel better when we get fully dressed and we take a good shower and wash our face and brush our teeth. Just because they're on the video, they don't have to be slackers, right? And you've seen those videos of those folks that are just wearing the shirt and not the anything down below. And all of a sudden they have to get up and we can see the boxers. And don't let that be your baby, right? Let them get dressed. Let them put on their school clothes. Let them get dressed. Let them get fully dressed and fully prepared so that their minds are ready and they're activated. And don't let them log on when it's time for the class to start. They're already late. Glitches happen. Teach them they need to be logging in at least 5 minutes ahead of time. If not, at least 5 minutes, because the system could be down. They're having trouble with the passcode. It takes them a few minutes. So don't wait until it's time for the class for them to get online. Give them a few minutes to kind of get through the glitches and be ready and sitting there at attention when the class starts. All right. And I also want to encourage you, moms and dads and grandmoms and aunties and uncles, to collaborate and continue this conversation with your teacher, your students' teachers, with the school. Because I think having this parent night is Selma City's way of saying, moms and dads, we're not leaving you out of the mix. We need you more than ever. These children are in a different environment, a different setting, and so are you. Quite frankly, so is Selma City. So are we at Voyager. We've never experienced anything like this pandemic. It's causing all of us to think differently and work differently and behave differently. But let's not forget that it's always going to be students first and how we meet these kids' needs. So continue to collaborate with your scholars' teachers. In the Voyager solutions, most everything that we offer has a way that they will be keeping data when the kids do their assessments and do their online practices and do their work. Ask your teacher, hey, how's my child doing with that VMath Live? I see him getting online. Is he being successful? Is it working for him? And when they sit there with that Reading Rangers on their devices, you sit down with them and enjoy some of those stories, right? Keep this ongoing homeschool connection. Don't let it end just because it's virtual now and they're quote unquote back in school. No, we need that collaboration and partnership with our moms and dads and grandmoms and everybody at home. And then I'll just end with this. We'll get through this together. Do me a favor. Chat in what's been getting you through right now. This COVID's been in the States since March. Our lives have been topsy-turvy. Type one thing that's been getting you through up to this point. What has it been? What's that one thing? And I can't even see all those different comments that are coming in, but I'm going to tell you this. Whatever's been getting you through up to this point, keep it going. It's going to continue to get it through, whether it's been your family, whether it's been you've been on the front lines. Maybe you're a nurse or a doctor and you recognize the importance of getting out and getting to work every day so that you can make sure that we can all be safe by people getting tested and staying safe. Maybe it's you've been wearing that mask, you've been social isolated, you've been staying at home. Maybe you put God or Jesus. Yeah. Whatever it is that's been getting you through up to this point, it's going to continue to get you through. Keep leaning on your spouse. Keep leaning on your good friends. Keep leaning on your faith. We're going to get through this together. And so this partnership that we have with Selma City Schools, with Students First, as it relates to reading and writing and arithmetic, oh yeah, we're in a really good place. And I hope now that you see what's happening with this partnership, if you had any concerns or any anxiety about how is this going to work, how is my child going to make up for this time, these tools that are provided with Voyager Sopris Learning through Passport, Step Up to Writing, VMath Live, Reading Rangers, is going to help your child become that much more prepared for that life trajectory that we want them to have. So again, I thank you so much for your time today. Dr. Ford, I know you were watching the chat, and I can pull it up now. Oh, you all are so sweet. Thank you so much. Yeah, prayers, family, and God. I don't have a problem saying that. I mean, I know I represent my company, but if faith has been getting you through this, keep that faith. If your family ties have been keeping you through that, keep those family ties. If you got this positive outlook that this too shall pass, it will. Keep that and stay in close communication with your scholars teacher, with the school district. Dr. Ford, as you see, is so committed to your child. She is committed to the success of Selma City. And this partnership that you have with Voyager, listen, I'm right down the road. Dr. Ford has me on speed dial, right? Anything comes up, we're in partnership. We're going to get through this together. Thank you so much, Dr. Ford. This was so much fun.
Thank you so much. We have the best superintendent in Alabama with us.
Yes, absolutely. Are you kidding? Number one.
I'm passing the torch.
I need one of those number one fingers to get the ball game. That little number one finger. I need that right now.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you to our parents who are out there. I see we've got one of our phenomenal board members, Mrs. Wooten, out there. Do we have any other board members present? Well, Mrs. Wooten, we appreciate you. And thank you to all of our principals who are participating as well. And a huge shout out to our parents for taking the time to learn and grow with us. And Dr. Ford is my ace, and love you to death. And I appreciate all of your dedication and partnering and everything. So this is awesome. Thank you all so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, this was wonderful. What a great opportunity for the parents. Thank you so much.
Selma City has the best parents, the best community.
I believe that.
Team Selma, one team, one voice, committed to excellence. We just have the best team, period.
We really have the best team.
Everybody.
Yes.
I love it. So happy to be a part. Someone said, I'm happy to be here. Me too, Mr. Jones. I'm happy to be here.
Well, thank you all. Please keep watching our social media for the other classes that we have, the other presentations that we have, and the other supports that we'll make available. We did have a partnership meeting last week, and we have several of our local city partners